Hey, teacher here. What do I think about boxing, or what is my opinion on boxing in terms of being an effective method of fighting or self-defense? Even one of my viewers asked me that question. I believe that boxing is very efficient as a means of self-defense. I know it firsthand. Part of my training in my earlier youth and adult life in martial arts, I studied boxing along with the martial arts specifically coming up. And I also did kickboxing. So I know boxing is very effective as a fighting art per se. Now, I can go into some more specifics in terms of the comparison or the contrast between boxing and martial arts, but I'm not going to waste time on that. I'm just going to get to the point that I'm trying to express to you right now. Now, interesting story though. When I was young in the martial arts and studying karate at some point in the 70s, my instructor, one of my instructors, used to give martial arts fights where people would win money. And he would have boxers fighting, and then he would have martial arts guys fighting and doing kickboxing and so forth. And then we have guys who were boxers pit against karate guys and things of that sort. And so I have firsthand experience in the kickboxing arena. I never did it professionally, never wanted to, but I will say this. There were some guys that came to our school that were boxers that were very, very great at boxing. And I had my clock cleaned pretty good by one of my classmates who had been studying boxing, and he had won the Golden Glove championship and things of this sort. This was one of my waking up moments, my ta-da moments, if you will, where I realized that what I was studying was not as diverse as it could have been when I was coming up, because I was studying Chinese, Japanese, and Korean martial arts, but boxing was an element that you really didn't see. How should I say? Uh, Mirrored, so to speak, in the martial arts. There were no techniques that really looked like boxing, in other words, in the martial arts that we were studying, because it was a totally different animal. Howbeit, it was a very effective animal. So, what happened was my instructor had given a demonstration, and I was part of that demonstration, and he was looking for someone to fight me in this demonstration. It was like a charity kind of thing. So we were only doing a chair slash that charity thing. We were only doing the demonstration. So one of my classmates who had not been in class for a while, but he was studying boxing on the side, he took a boxing approach, and I was purely martial arts, karate as it were. And we got into the boxing ring when it came time for us to come up, and they announced our names and so forth. And we were just basically supposed to go back and forth throwing techniques for the audience. But this gentleman, he took it somewhere else. And he was very, very aggressive to me, so much so he busted my lip a few times. He was good at boxing. Now, even though I was studying boxing and training in boxing, I did not do exclusively boxing. I'm staying strictly on the martial arts side of things, and you are limited when you're in the ring doing kickboxing. You can't do knife hands and various other things that you technically would use in a street situation maybe. So you were limited because there were rules. So long story short, he was getting the best of me. And so I'm throwing kicks, and he was not that great of a kicker, but he could kick, but he was very good in boxing, and he would get in close on me. So there was a point, I think it was like the second or the third round, I actually did a jiu-jitsu or judo throw and took him to the ground and began to pummel him while he was down. But I think that was my sense of preservation, if you will, because it was getting sort of hot, and I think his ego sort of stepped in, as opposed to him realizing that we were actually doing just a demonstration, that we were not actually fighting one another. Anyway, long story short, again, I learned a valuable lesson from that experience, maybe more than one. Number one, sometimes a crowd feeds people's ego, even if you know the person on an intimate level, very close. So that's one thing you have to watch out for. And secondly, never underestimate another individual's art or craft. Never exclude it, thinking that what you do is the stuff. So needless to say, I continued with the boxing, and I got better and better at boxing, and then incorporating that boxing into my martial arts. And so it is a package now. So I say that to say this: just because you see me espouse economy of motion, straight lines as it relates to Wing Chun and so forth, and staying inside the box, does not mean that I won't throw a hook. Does not mean that I won't throw a right cross. So let me stand up for a second. Move my chair. Whatever works, at the end of the day, is what you should use. We can never dictate how a fight is going to pan out in a situation, in a street. We don't know what's going to happen, in other words. So when we're saying stay straight, that's effective. But you don't know what type of opponent you're going to be up against. So you want to start pulling things out of your toolbox that's necessary for that particular individual, because some things don't work on everybody. That's a fact. And I have a testament to that. So when I'm here, I'll put my hands up, and I'll hook, I'll jab, I'll go underneath, I'll even go across. It's not always going to be Wing Chun, so it's going to be here, techniques here, so forth. I will go outside of that box, okay? Just want you to know. So to my friend that asked the question about boxing, boxing is very, very effective in a street confrontation. But I will advise anyone, even if a boxer does not kick, make sure that you make yourself aware of other styles and systems of fighting, such as taekwondo and such as jiu-jitsu and so forth, so that you know what you could potentially be up against if you were to engage with one of those people in a real life situation. And hopefully, because of the discipline that we all should have embodied in our training, we shouldn't be challenging any of our brothers in the martial arts, period. It's just not that way. We are a brotherhood, irrespective of what we study, irrespective of what the history and tradition is. It shouldn't be Wing Chun versus boxing, and boxing versus Tai Chi, and Hung Gar versus Taekwondo, and Aikido versus Jiu-Jitsu. All of this stuff is nonsense that you see on YouTube. We don't need to be challenging one another to fight. What we should be doing is challenging ourselves to be a better human being. That's it at the end of the day. You're supposed to learn how not to fight, how to avoid a fight, if at all possible. Fighting is always the last resort. This is Brother Teacher. See you next time. So long.